can also see how this system is in full effect right now by looking at how much the foreclosure filings have been jumping recently. Everything I just outlined in this playbook of increasing property values to the point where people can't afford the carrying costs and then they lose the house, it's happening right now. Foreclosure filings jumped 20% year over year as of the October data, and roughly 37,000 U.S. properties had a foreclosure filing in October, and this includes default notices, scheduled auctions, and bank repossessions. And even though these levels remain below historic peaks, we have seen 8 straight months in a row of increases in foreclosure filings, which point to more homeowners struggling to keep up with the mortgage payments. These are forced sales. These are people who are losing their homes, not because they don't want to live there, but because they cannot afford it anymore. And of course, right here in Florida, where I'm walking right now, is ground zero for this foreclosure crisis, where 1 in every 1,829 homes has a foreclosure filing, the highest in the nation. And cities like Tampa, Jacksonville, and Orlando rank among the highest metros for foreclosures. And the rising insurance premiums, the rising property taxes, and the falling home values are all major contributors. And of course, the horrible job market where people cannot keep up with the cost of living. And if you lose a job, it's kind of the kiss of death right now. Nationwide, homeowners insurance premiums are up nearly 50% in the last 5 years. And when you have higher property taxes and a higher cost of living, combined with the labor market weakness we're seeing right now, it's a recipe for disaster, guys. We are living through the perfect economic storm right now. And unfortunately, it feels like it's just getting started. And a lot of people who are losing houses right now, let's face it, they bought at the worst possible time. I was advising against so many people to buy over the past few years unless you knew for a fact you're going to be hanging on to the property for a long time, unless you knew for a fact that you would be able to make those payments with ease, especially if you're buying on dual income and only have one because one person lost a job. Like, if you didn't follow that protocol, you're probably in this category right now of a struggling borrower. So many people bought their homes at the peak of the housing market in 2022 when home values were at their highest and FOMO was at its highest. Everybody thought, oh, inflation is too high. They printed too much money. There's no way this is ever going to reverse. Home prices are going to go up forever. And if you don't buy now, you're going to be priced out of the market forever. And completely the opposite has been true. Home values are now falling in more than half of the metros across the country. And even in areas where it's still climbing, it's not climbing by too much anymore. And the days of FOMO are over. A lot of these people bought into the lie that they would buy now and refinance later, but the rates haven't really fallen enough to make that a possibility. And even if they have, for some people, a lot of people are now underwater on their mortgage and can't refinance anyways, which is something else we'll cover in a little bit here. When the 30-year mortgage went down from like 6.8% to 6.2% on a $400,000 loan, it only saves you like $100 a month, guys. That's not enough to make refinancing worth it. And no surprise, the FHA borrowers are the ones that are seeing the largest spike in foreclosures right now. In fact, FHA loans made up 44% of all foreclosure starts as of the third quarter of this year. And that's because they put down only 3.5% down. Some of them even qualify for programs where it's 0% down because their income is significantly below the median income in their area. And everybody thinks that's great. Oh, let's give people a chance to get into a home. Well, look at that. Look how many of them are losing it now. And a lot of buyers are just biting off more than they can chew. That's the reality. You have households that earn like $100K a year, and they are stretching to buy $600,000-$700,000 homes, which leaves no room for any financial emergencies, no room for vacation, no room for lifestyle changes or hidden expenses, nothing like that. And then one little thing happens and boom, you can't make the house payment. And so far, a lot of the distressed sales have been picked up by home flippers and real estate investors. A lot of times, these homeowners are approached once there's a list pending on their property before it even comes to market to try and buy it out from under them before it ever hits the market. And a lot of savvy investors do this because they know that's how you can get the best deal on a property, especially when somebody is desperate for money. And of course, all of the recent job losses that we're seeing are going to exacerbate this issue, because if you lose your job, you're really in a position where you can't make payments unless you have been very smart with your money, save the emergency fund like I talk about here on this channel, and don't have a whole lot of other monthly payment or debt obligations, so that way you can stretch that money as far as possible. And for anybody curious, I am walking down 104th Avenue here in Miami Shores today.